welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man, J.P. And I can see behind me, I got the wrestling wall up, my figure shelves up, thanks to my beautiful wife. And so today we're continuing on, I should say, with the King of the Ring. And next up is the King of the Ring 1997. Now, 1997 was actually a big year in professional wrestling, not only for the WWF, but also for WCW. So, in June of 1997, the WWF put on the King of the Ring, as they did for several years prior to this. So, but the landscape of the WWF was definitely shifting, and, you know, it was evident in this event. So, I mean, we had matches on this event like Goldust versus Crush. We had, I've got them written down here. And you know, I just watched this, but it's still just, you know, I'm getting old. Anyway, so yeah, there was a 6-man tag. Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart would take on the Legion of Doom and Sid. And then we also had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Heartbreak Kid. The Undertaker would defeat Farouk for the WWF title. And in the King of the Ring tournament, they did the qualifying matches in the first round on Monday Night Raw. But then, when the pay-per-view came along, all they had to do was the semifinals and then the finals. And in the semifinals, we would have Triple H taking on Ahmed Johnson, in which Triple H was victorious there, used the pedigree, thanks to the interference of China. And then we have Jerry the King Lawler being defeated by Mankind. And Mankind used the Mandible Claw, which, you know, you can't escape the Mandible Claw. You can't. You can't do it. It's, you know, people have tried. You can't escape the Mandible Claw. That's just the way it is. You're going to have to accept it. Anyway. So that would lead to the finals, which was Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Mankind. And obviously, Triple H was able to win, and again, once again, China was there. She interfered in the match, allowing Hunter Hearst Helmsley to become the King of the Ring 1997. But just as they were getting ready to put the crown and the cape on Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he used the crown to beat up Mankind some more, and destroying the crown, because in reality, he didn't want to wear the crown. He thought it was stupid looking, and he didn't want to wear it. So, ultimately, Vince McMahon never really made him wear it. So anyway, yeah, it was... I don't remember when the first time I saw this event was. I know it was probably on video, because I didn't order pay-per-views back then. Actually, I did, but this one didn't really strike my interest. I didn't really want to order this one, because back then I was primarily watching WCW. You know, I wasn't really watching WWF at the time. I mean, I kind of was. I was in and out, but I was mostly interested in what WCW was doing at the time, because they were full-fledged NWO and everything. But I always liked the King of the Ring. I always liked the concept. I always liked the tournament concept. Some people would argue that, no, there were no really stories in the matches. Well, to me, the story was the King of the Ring tournament. The story was wanting to compete to become that King of the Ring. Even if the matches themselves, the guys weren't exactly maybe feuding at the time, but it didn't matter. They were competing to be crowned the King of the Ring. So, I mean, when I went back, I thought it was okay. You know, these wrestlers, they're not like my favorite group of wrestlers. You know, I liked Mankind and, you know, Farouk. I liked Farouk better as Ron Simmons than Farouk. I didn't really like the Farouk gimmick all that much. But, I mean, it's okay. I didn't really like Goldust. I never really did like Goldust. You know, British Bulldog, Owen, Anvil, that match was okay. But, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, or Shawn Michaels, rather, that match, you know, I guess, yeah, I've never been a big Stone Cold guy, but you know, this was when Stone Cold was sort of in his peak in popularity, so they kind of had to do something like that. But Shawn Michaels was kind of on his way out. You know, Shawn Michaels had been there since the mid-'80s, and you know, he was suffering from a lot of injuries backstage, and he also was not really all that pleasant to deal with backstage. So, you know, they were trying to sort of phase him out. So they were trying to set it up to where somebody else could win the title, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin would soon rise to that occasion. But in this particular event, it was all about Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Now, Hunter was supposed to win the tournament the year before, but he didn't because of an incident that happened at Madison Square Garden where he and all the members of the Clique at the end of the night would embrace because Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were on their way to WCW, and that was going to be their last night at the company. So there was one fan with a camcorder that managed to capture the event on film, and there were some guys in the back, old school guys in the back, that didn't care for that. You know, they were like, you know, what in the world are you thinking? You're exposing the business. Blah, blah, blah. We all know what happened. So, because of that, you know, the only one to really punish was Hunter Hearst Helmsley because he was the one that was there, that was going to be there. You know, Diesel and Razor, they were going to be gone. Shawn Michaels was the champion, so he couldn't really punish him. So Hunter Hearst Helmsley kind of had to be punished. So Vince McMahon sort of punished him by putting him in like humiliating matches and, you know, just. But by 1997, all that was behind him, and he could finally start thriving as a superstar. He wins King of the Ring, and off he goes. So that's going to do it for this video. We're going to cover 1998 on the next video, and that was the site of the infamous Hell in a Cell match. So you're not going to want to miss that. So if you're new, feel free to like and subscribe and share, you know. And I will see you next time.